Welcome everybody to my first video. Today we'll be playing Jeskai Control. I've been playing Blue-Red Control for a while now, I think since Amon kept released, and I've been kind of happy about it. It hasn't been the best deck so far, but I feel like with the addition of Hour of Devastation, the card and the set, Hour and Supreme Wells and the Braids, the deck has gotten a lot of tools that allows it to do the things that Control do. Stabilize the board, kill troublesome permanents, and use Gearhulk and Planeswalkers to sort of end the game, or at least put the game in a position where your opponent can't possibly win, so we're just whittling down time until you win. But that is said, that with Hour of Devastation, a new, more difficult deck came forward. Mono Red Aggro. Red aggro is just about impossible to beat for the standard blue-red control deck. I've tried a few different versions, and I have never really found a version where I felt like that I was at least close to 50-50 in the matchup post-sideboard. And I feel like that is mainly because the reason the mono-red deck can actually win isn't because their creatures kill you, or even the planeswalkers, or Hazoret for that matter. It's because they have lands, and Ramunap Ruins is close to possibly the worst card for a control deck, because you cannot deal with it. You have Disallow, you can counter it once, but in the late game when you are at, I don't know, 5 or 4 life, which is typically around where the control deck stabilizes, if it managed to stabilize. Just 2 activations and you're dead. That's too much. I mean, the red deck cannot deal with that. And so I want to try and splash white. I'm doing this of 4 irrigated farmlands, plains, and a needle spire, together with, of course, Ether Hub. Main board, this will only be for cast out on Lilvana. Mainly, I feel like that if you want to play a control deck right now, you have to go one of 2 different ways. Either your main board is to smash mono red aggro, but then you say, I probably lose against most of the other decks in the format, because other maybe than zombies, because they are simply too big. I mean, green black becomes way too big for Magma Spray and Sweltering Suns really quickly, and Temur Energy I think would just be, a complete loss main board if you try and beat mono red aggro. So therefore my main board is set up for not beating mono red aggro, but beating pretty much the other decks in the format. At least that's the hopes. And then we're gonna try and deal with the mono red aggro in the sideboard. Now, Linvala I feel like is just a good enough deck card to play in the main deck, which is why she's here. A 5/5 flyer is troublesome to deal with. There is no real removal spells that take care of her right now, other than Harness Lightning, which, I mean, that's just the way it is. There's never gonna be a card that doesn't die to Harness. Even Gearhulk dies to Harness. And then Cast Out, because we're gonna have to shave on the number of Hour of Devastations and Sweltering Suns in order to play. That's just, we shave on Hour and Sweltering to play Cast Out. That's generally just what that is. We still play 4 Harness Lightning and 2 Abrade, which, because those are just really good removal spells, they take care of basically everything. Abrade is also because Blue-White Monument can still be really troublesome to deal with, especially if they have the Monument on board. 2 Disallows, because double blue on turn 3 might be a bit troublesome to hit with this deck, so therefore we play the full set of Supreme Wells and the other counter spells. We don't play that many counter spells in this deck actually, and I don't feel like we really need to, because we have Cast Out an Hour. Okay, so let's try and look at the sideboard. So the sideboard looks like this. These cards are for the, these cards, 11 cards are for the mono red aggro matchup. Orchestra's Last Mercy is the one that I'm the most interested about, because this card might just be a complete dot, or it might be the one card we need in order to make sure we never loses. Because I feel like it has some potential to just be backbreaking. If you can somewhat stabilize on turn 6 or 7 at 4 or 5 life maybe, you can just cast a Ketra, go back up to 20, and I'm not sure how they're going to be able to deal with that. Because then, even if your next turn is sort of off, I mean, they only draw one card a turn, unless they have a Chandra, but I feel like if they have a Chandra, you're not going to cast a Ketra, because you're going to want to try and deal with that Chandra anyways. But this card might actually probably should maybe just be another Magma Spray. I don't know. I'm interested in seeing how it does, which is why it's in the sideboard. I think the rest kind of speaks for itself. Blessed Alliance is just really good. The fact that you can gain 4 life probably means that you'll be able to stave off death for a couple of turns. Magma Sprays, Chandra's Defeats, Sweltering Suns, I think those are all fairly common answers towards the Mono Red Scourge. And then Sun Scourge Champion. This card I'm also a bit on the fence about. I think it's really good. Like 3 mana, 2/3 that gains your life just seems bad, to be honest. This is probably not the best card, but the fact that you can Eternalize it and get a 4/4 all of a sudden that gains you 4 life means that for one card we can most likely have a removal spell as we block with it, and we'll gain 6 life. Sure, we have to discard, but we might run into a situation of sitting with maybe a land or a counterspell that's probably not going to do much in the late game, that we can Eternalize it, gain 4 life, and I feel like that's the main problem, as I said before, is the fact that we run out of life. It's not that we can't kill the red deck, it's just that they kill us before we have a chance to gain complete control, and I think Sun Scourge Champion should help with that. My main issue is that it's not actually a 3/2. That would be much better, because that would mean that it won't get negated by their Kenra. I mean, Kenra just comes down and says this thing can't block, meaning that all of a sudden it doesn't work as a blocker. But I mean, that is the way it is. Even if they don't have Kenra, or they have already exerted when we play it with their Encore Crasher, they should be able to block in some fashion at some point in the game to gain us some life that way, and also kill a creature. Its stats are really good for just killing all of the creatures the Mono Red plays, except for, well, Hazoret and Glorybringer. So the rest of the deck, the rest of the sideboard is basically actually only for any control mirror deck. I think the main deck is pretty much set up so that we will beat most of the mid-range decks. I might pull in Bolas against stuff like Temur Energy, or another more the blue-black reanimator deck that has been cropping about a bit, just because he's just really tough to deal with if he hits the board, and I think that that's a good enough threat to play. Yeah. Other than that, I don't think there's too much. I mean, I'm not sure that control is where you want to be, but I think that if you want to play control, you probably need to play some sort of white. Maybe the right call is just play strict blue-white, but I just have a hard time not looking at Hour of Devastation and saying I want to play this card in my control deck. Hopefully the mana won't be too bad. I mean, I'm definitely not an expert in building any sort of mana base, but it should be fine with the amount of lands we have to produce as white to be able to cast Occurrence/Mercy. Also considering we're not planning on casting it on turn 3, but rather on turn 6, 7, 8 possibly, whenever it seems the most appropriate. And it's kind of the same with Levada. They're not necessarily a 6-drop. They can also just be played on turn 10 when we have control over the board and we want to land a threat. I mean, Limbala in this deck doesn't have to bring along the 3/3 in order for her to just be really good. Of course, if she brings along a 3/3, that's great, but she doesn't have to. The main problem I have with Limbala is that she dies to Hour, but I mean, we can't probably, I mean, that's not something against her. I think that if we play Limbala, we probably won't need to play Hour ever. It's kind of, that's where I am. So, yeah. Alright, well, I will see you in the matches.